Imagine, just for a moment, that this very night you are sitting in your own room, and in your hand you are holding a small, ordinary piece of paper. Look at it in your mind's eye. It is not just any paper. It is a lottery ticket. Feel the edges of it against your fingers. Hear the faint crackle as it moves in your hand. See as clearly as you can the row of numbers printed upon it. Do not place this scene in some vague tomorrow. Bring it close. Bring it here. Bring it now. You have already checked the numbers. You are not waiting for the drawing. You are not hoping. The drawing is finished. The result is known. And this slip of paper in your hand is the winning ticket. How would you feel? Not how would you feel tomorrow. Not how would you feel one day if it happened, but how would you feel now, in this present moment, if it were already so? Would you feel a rush of excitement in the chest? Would your hands tremble just a little? Would there be tears of relief, laughter, a still, deep calm that says, at last, it is done? Let that feeling rise, let it take form in you. For what I desire to show you tonight is very simple, yet it overturns the whole world's belief about money, about luck, and about the lottery. You do not truly manifest money. You manifest a state of consciousness. You do not manifest pieces of paper with numbers on them. You do not manifest coins, or notes, or balances in a bank. All these are shadows. They are the visible clothing of an unseen assumption. What you manifest is the feeling of already being the one who has, and then the world, obedient and impartial, arranges itself to mirror that feeling as fact. The world calls it fortune. The world calls it chance. The world calls it luck. I call it law. When a man wins the lottery and holds a ticket worth a fortune, the newspapers say, what an astonishing stroke of luck. Out of all the millions of possibilities, the numbers fell to him. But I tell you, nothing falls at random. There is no chance in the sense men usually mean. There is only consciousness becoming visible. There is only the inner state crystallizing into the outer event. The ticket, the numbers, the drawing, the smiling clerk behind the counter. The announcement in the newspaper, these are incidents, steps on a bridge which leads from one state of consciousness to another. The true work is done long before the numbers are printed. It is done in the invisible. It is done in imagination. If you could see life as I see it, you would behold a world woven out of inner states. Behind every fortune, every failure, every so-called accident, every sudden turn of events, there lies a secret assumption, sometimes conscious, often unconscious, but always present, always creative. A man moves from the state of I am poor, I am overlooked, I am unlucky, into the state of I am wealthy, I am chosen, I am favored, and the outer world, which is nothing more than his own self pushed out, must rearrange itself to match the new conception. The lottery is but one possible rearrangement. It is one bridge of incidents, a series of outward happenings by which the inner change of state is made plain to the senses. Do you follow me? I am not here to teach you how to twist numbers to your will, nor how to bend the mechanical drawing of tickets. I am here to show you that the drawing is not the cause at all. The cause is your own wonderful human imagination. The cause is the state in which you habitually dwell. If tonight you sleep in the consciousness of being a loser, you may buy 1,000 tickets and never touch a prize. But if tonight you dare to sleep in the consciousness of being already the winner, then, whether by lottery, by gift, by opportunity, or by some other channel you cannot yet foresee, the world must find a way to deliver the equivalent of that assumption. Understand this clearly. The lottery itself has no inherent power. It is a stage, and you are the playwright. It is an instrument, and you are the musician. It is a bridge, and the bridge appears only because you have already moved, inwardly, from one shore to another. When people say to me, Neville, tell me exactly what to do, so that I may win this week's drawing, they speak as though the drawing were the master, and they the servant. They think the numbers decide their fate. They believe the power lies in the machine, in the tickets, in the odds. They are mistaken. The power lies in the state they occupy. If you could change nothing in your outer world, if you could not buy a single ticket, yet you could truly and persistently feel yourself to be the one who has already received great sums of money, life would still be compelled to find some bridge, a forgotten inheritance, a new occupation, an unexpected gift, to bring the outer picture in harmony with the inner conviction. The lottery is simply a very dramatic, very rapid bridge of incidents, and so it fascinates men. It appears to promise much for very little, but the true cost is not the price of the ticket. The true cost is the willingness to abandon your old state and embrace a new one. So tonight, before we go further, I ask you to drop the word chance from your vocabulary. Put aside, for this hour, all talk of odds and probabilities. Let us speak only of consciousness. In my own experience, both in my life and in the lives of those who have come to me, the pattern is always the same. A man or woman comes and says, I need money. I need a great sum. They think they need a method. They think they need to know what action to take, whom to speak to, what door to knock upon. I ask them first, tell me honestly, what do you feel yourself to be? After some conversation, it always emerges. They feel themselves to be struggling, overlooked, at the mercy of others. They may speak the words of faith, but inwardly they still occupy the old state. I say to them, you are trying to bring wealth into a state of poverty, and it cannot be done. You must first leave the old state entirely, and take up residence in the new. How do we do that? We do it by imagination. We do it by feeling. We do it by the simple yet profound act with which I began, by taking into ourselves, here and now, the sensation of holding that winning ticket, not as a hope, but as a fact. Do you understand? I ask you again to feel that ticket. It is already yours. You have already checked the numbers. You have already seen the proof. The clerk has already said, Sir, madam, this is the winning ticket. You must go and claim your prize. Perhaps you have already claimed it. Perhaps in imagination you are back home with the check safely placed upon the table, and your whole being is breathing. Thank you. This attitude, this inner posture, is the beginning of manifestation. You may never win the lottery in the literal sense, or you may. That is not the heart of the matter. The heart is this: when you establish in yourself a steady state of wealth, when you feel rich, when you think from riches, when you walk as one who has, then the whole vast world becomes a servant to that state. The lottery, should it be used, will simply be the shortest bridge between where you stand outwardly and where you have already arrived inwardly. So, I repeat, you do not manifest money. You manifest the consciousness of being wealthy. You do not manifest a particular numbered ticket. You manifest the feeling of being the one who always seems to stand where the prize is falling. And then, by ways you need not and cannot foresee, the bridge of incidents appears. Some of you will buy a ticket on a day you had not meant to leave the house. Some of you will find yourself drawn to a certain shop, a certain moment, a certain line. You will call it an impulse, an accident, a coincidence. But if you could see as the inner eye sees, you would know that every step on that bridge was set in motion the moment you dared to assume the new state. Tonight then, as we begin, let us make an agreement. For the length of this talk, you will lay aside the old belief in a world of hard facts independent of your imagination. You will consider, at least as a working hypothesis, that consciousness is the only reality, and that the outer world is nothing more than your own inner life made visible. And you will see the lottery, not as a capricious goddess who might smile on you if she chooses, but as one of many obedient bridges ready to rise beneath your feet, the instant you step into the state of wealth. From this point on, we are not going to chase fortune. We are going to become fortune. We are not going to beg life for a winning ticket. We are going to recognize that the winning ticket is already written within us as a state of consciousness, and we will learn how to call it forth. So once more, very quietly, say within yourself, I now hold the winning ticket in my hand. I have already won. I am the one fortune has fallen to. I am wealthy. I am free. Feel what those words do in you. That feeling, my friend, is the seed. The lottery is only the bridge that will one day carry that seed into sight. Consciousness is the only reality. There is no power outside of it, no separate force arranging your fate, no external God handing out fortune or withholding it from you. The true creative power of the universe is your own wonderful human imagination, the in within you. When Moses stood before the burning bush and asked for the name of God, the answer came, I am that I am. Not I was, not I will be, but I am. That eternal presence is in you now. It is the awareness of being. Before you can say, I am rich or I am poor, you must first simply be aware that I am. That awareness is God. That awareness is the root and cause of everything that appears in your world. Everything you see, every object, every event, every person is nothing more than the outpicturing of your inner state of consciousness. The outer world is a mirror. It shows you faithfully and without judgment what you have been assuming and feeling yourself to be within. If you wake tomorrow and the mirror shows you a tired face, you do not blame the glass. You know the reflection cannot change until the original changes. And yet, most of humanity looks at the mirror of the world and cries out, why is life so cruel? Why do the odds never favor me? Why does fortune always smile upon others and not upon me? They do not realize they are standing before their own reflection. All the statistics, all the odds, all the calculations, they are powerless before the law of assumption. They are like the mirror telling you that your face will always remain the same. But change your expression, and instantly the reflection must obey. It is the same with life. If you change nothing within yourself, you may count the odds for 1,000 years, and the result will never alter. But change the inner assumption, and the so-called laws of probability bend and twist to serve you. The world believes in chance. I believe in law. They believe in luck. I believe in consciousness. The law is simple. Whatever you assume to be true and persist in assuming will one day become fact. I have seen men and women who by all outer calculation had not the faintest hope of success rise overnight into positions of wealth and recognition, not because of luck, not because of influence, but because inwardly they had ceased to accept the old limitations. They dared to say within themselves, I am chosen, I am favored, I am rich in every way that matters. And the mirror of the world, obedient as always, rearranged itself to make their words visible. You see, it is not the ticket that holds the power. It is not the numbers that decide. It is not the wheel, nor the drawer, nor the machine. All these things are dead mechanisms moved by the living law within you. You are not a pawn of circumstance. You are its author. Every so-called random event is drawn to you by the vibration of your state of consciousness. You may tell me, Neville, but there are millions of tickets, and only one can win. I tell you, there is only one consciousness, appearing as millions, and that consciousness is God, your own imagination. When you assume a state and persist in it, you select from the infinite field of possibilities the particular arrangement that mirrors your assumption. You collapse the seeming chaos into a pattern that reflects your conviction. The odds are nothing to the law of consciousness, because the odds belong to the world of quantity, while the law belongs to the world of quality. A single drop of assumption outweighs oceans of probability. If tonight you will believe this, not as a theory, but as an experience, you will feel the shift begin. You will realize that every time you say, I am, you are pronouncing the name of God, and whatever follows those words is a command to creation. Say, I am unlucky, and creation must obey. Say, I am always overlooked, and the mirror reflects exactly that. But say, I am the one fortune favors. I am the one who wins, and though the outer world may take a little while to rearrange, it will do so with mathematical certainty. Consciousness is the only cause. The outer world is the effect. When you truly grasp this, you stop struggling with shadows. You stop begging the reflection to change. You turn within to the source of all movement, and you begin to shape your reality deliberately. I am not speaking to you of superstition, nor of wishful thinking. I am speaking of the eternal law by which the universe itself is sustained. When a seed is planted in the ground, no one doubts that it will grow according to its kind. You do not plant corn and expect roses. You understand that the seed reproduces its own nature. So too with consciousness. The state you occupy within is the seed you plant in the soil of the infinite. If you live from the state of lack, you reproduce lack. If you live from the state of wealth, you reproduce wealth. The form of the harvest, whether it comes by work, by gift, or by the lottery, does not matter. The seed determines the fruit. Therefore, never again say, "The odds are against me." The odds have no life of their own. They are numbers written by men who have forgotten that they are gods. When you awaken to the truth that I am is the creative power, you realize that nothing stands outside of you. You are the cause of the numbers, the movement of the draw, the winning ticket itself. For there is only one being, dreaming itself through infinite forms, and that being is imagining right now through you. And so, when you imagine holding that winning ticket, feeling its texture, and the thrill of victory, it is not a man imagining, it is God imagining. And because imagination creates reality, that inner act must find its correspondence in the outer world. The world will call it a miracle. You will know it as law. So tonight, let this truth sink deeply into you. There is no power outside of consciousness. Statistics and probability bow before assumption. The mirror has no choice but to reflect the face you show it. When you understand this, you will never again fear the odds, for you will know they are but your own shadow, following obediently behind the light of your awareness. Most people live in a constant state of wishing. They wish for better days. They wish for fortune. They wish to be chosen by fate. They say to themselves, "One day, perhaps, if luck is kind to me, if circumstances change." But wishing is the language of separation. It confesses that what you desire is not yet yours. It quietly says, "I am not it." Assumption, on the other hand, speaks from union. It declares, "I am." This is the great divide between those who dream idly and those who create deliberately. A wish keeps the object of desire forever in the future. An assumption brings it into the living present. You can spend your whole life wishing and never move an inch closer to your goal. For a wish leaves the consciousness unchanged. But assume, truly feel, that you already are what you want to be, and the world will rearrange itself around that new center. You see, a wish is something you hold out before you, as a distant light. An assumption is something you carry within, as the fire of your being. When I say I am rich, I do not mean to speak it as an empty statement. I mean to feel it as fact. Not tomorrow, not soon, now. Faith is not hoping that something will happen. Faith is feeling that it has already happened. It is written, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The word substance means that faith is the very material of reality. It is not the shadow, it is the thing itself. So when I tell you to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, I am not asking you to make believe or pretend. I am asking you to enter into the substance of reality. The feeling itself is the creative act. That gentle certainty, that quiet knowing, that is what solidifies in the world of matter. I remember, years ago, a woman came to me deeply burdened by financial worry. She said, "Neville, I have tried every affirmation, every prayer, but nothing changes." I asked her, "Tell me, when you pray, how do you feel?" She said, "I feel desperate. I feel like I am begging God to help me." And I answered, "Then that is exactly what your prayer produces, more desperation, more begging. For you cannot pray from a state and escape the state at the same time. To rise from poverty, you must stop praying as the poor and begin praying as the rich. To manifest victory, you must cease praying as a seeker and begin praying as one who has already found." So I asked her to do something very simple. Each night, before falling asleep, I told her to close her eyes and imagine the following scene. She was sitting at her kitchen table, opening a letter, and inside the letter was a check made out to her name for an amount that solved every need. I told her, "Do not read the numbers too closely. The number is not the point. Feel what it would be like to open that envelope and realize it's done. All the worry, all the waiting, all the strain is over. Feel the relief, the peace, the joy. Let that feeling fill your whole being until you drift to sleep in it." She did exactly as I asked. Within a few weeks, money began to appear from unexpected directions. A forgotten inheritance, a correction from an old account, opportunities for work that perfectly fit her needs. She told me it was as though the world had been rearranged overnight. But what truly changed was not the world, it was her assumption of self. She ceased to wish and began to assume. You see, when you wish, you keep your desire at arm's length. When you assume, you fuse with it. The two become one. Think of a man standing before a fire. He can feel its warmth upon his skin, yet he is still separate from it. But if he walks into the flame, the fire and the man become one blaze. That is assumption. You no longer think of the wish fulfilled. You think from it. You no longer look toward it, you look out from it. Now let us try a simple exercise together. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself standing in the small office where lottery winners collect their prize. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Hear the faint hum of the room. You are holding the ticket. You have already been told that you have won. Someone behind a desk congratulates you. You reach for a pen to sign the form. The pen feels solid, cool in your fingers. You can hear it scratching across the paper as you write your name. You glance up and see a faint smile on the clerk's face. The kind of smile people give when something wonderful has just happened. Now pause. Don't strain to see the scene too vividly. Instead, feel what the scene implies. What emotion naturally belongs to this moment? Relief? Gratitude? Quiet astonishment? Let it come gently. That feeling, that warm, living certainty, is faith. Faith is not shouting words. It is not repeating affirmations without conviction. It is the still, inner knowing that what you have imagined is already real in the unseen. Carry that feeling within you. It may last only a moment the first time, but repeat it night after night. It will grow. It will take root. Soon you will find that the feeling comes more easily, more naturally. You will no longer struggle to imagine. It will feel as though you are remembering something that already happened. And that is the sign. When your imagination begins to feel like memory, creation is finished. So I say again, move from one day to I am, from hope to conviction, from separation to union. Stop wishing for the thing. Assume the feeling of having it. And the outer world, ever faithful to its source, will echo your new assumption as fact. To live in the end is to occupy right now the state you would naturally inhabit if your desire were already fulfilled. It is not to daydream about it or to hope for it. It is to make it present within yourself so completely that the outer world, sooner or later, must yield and mirror it back to you. When I speak of living in the end, I do not mean pretending in the physical sense. I do not mean going about boasting or spending money you do not yet have. That would be play acting. I mean living inwardly, from the position of accomplishment. To live in the end as a lottery winner is to feel that life has already crowned you. The great struggle is over. The uncertainty is finished. The burden of lack is gone. You breathe differently. You think differently. You walk through your world with a quiet assurance, because you have already arrived. It is the same stillness a man feels when the storm has passed and the sky clears. He no longer listens for thunder. He listens for birds. When you live in the end, you are not constantly checking to see whether your dream has come true. You rest in the knowing that it is already so in the unseen, and that the visible world is merely catching up. Ask yourself, how would I think? How would I feel? How would I react to life if I had already won? Would I rise in the morning, dreading the day, counting coins, fearing the postman and his bills? Or would I rise lightly, with gratitude, knowing that all is provided for? Would I meet small inconveniences with irritation? Or would I smile, knowing that nothing has the power to disturb the one who lives in abundance? If you had already won, would you be anxious? No, you would be calm. Would you be jealous of others' success? Certainly not. You would feel joy for them, because you would know that you and they are one in the same power that provides all things. Living in the end transforms your reactions. It dissolves fear before it can take shape. It replaces tension with quiet confidence. When the thought arises, how will I pay this? Or what if it never happens? You gently remind yourself, it is already done. I have already won. You do not argue with the outer world, you outgrow it. The man who lives in the end no longer debates the evidence of his senses. He knows that the senses only report what the mind has previously assumed. He knows that what he sees now is but the shadow of what he once felt to be true. So he refuses to worship shadows. He turns inward to the cause, and there he remains. To live in the end is to let your inner state become the only reality to which you respond. I remember once a gentleman who came to me, a businessman in great distress. His debts were mounting, his confidence failing. He said, "Neville, I cannot sleep for worry. My creditors ring at the door. How can I possibly imagine myself at peace when every hour brings a new demand?" I told him, "You must learn to ignore appearances. You must cease reacting to the visible and begin reacting to the invisible. Right now you are living from the end of fear. I want you to live from the end of victory," he protested. "But, Neville, that feels dishonest." I said, "My dear man, what you call honesty is only loyalty to a former state. If you are faithful to your failure, you cannot be faithful to success. You must die to one before you can live in the other." I asked him to spend each night before sleep, imagining that all his obligations were cleared, that he had written every letter of thanks, not of apology, that he was now free. I told him to walk as though every debt were paid and every burden lifted. Within a few months, new business came unexpectedly, and one by one his difficulties vanished. He told me, "Neville, it was as though the world had changed its mind about me, but it was he who had changed his mind about the world." When you live in the end, life cannot help but play the part you have assigned it. If you make wealth your inner dwelling place, life will bring the furniture to match. If you make peace your habitual mood, life will reflect peace through every circumstance. So begin now to cultivate the feeling of the one who has already won. When you walk through the market, do not think as the one who counts each coin, but as the one who has more than enough. When you look upon others, do not see competitors or obstacles. See fellow players in the grand play of consciousness, each fulfilling their role in the manifestation of your assumption. When you lie down to rest, do not sink into thoughts of worry. Instead, feel the deep comfort of one who knows the struggle is over. You see, the world cannot add wealth to a man who feels poor. It can only multiply what already exists within him. If he feels rich in imagination, riches must come. You may say, "Neville, what if a bill arrives tomorrow that I cannot pay?" I say, treat it as you would treat a shadow on the wall. Do not fight it. Do not deny it. Simply remember, this too is a projection of my former state. Then, quietly reaffirm your new state. I am wealthy. All my needs are met. If you persist in that attitude, the outer fact must dissolve and reform in harmony with your new assumption. To live in the end is to refuse to be impressed by the transient and to rest in the eternal. The poor man says, "I will believe it when I see it." The wise man says, "I will see it when I believe it." Your task, therefore, is not to struggle to make the world conform, but to dwell so deeply in the inner conviction of being a winner, that the world has no choice but to catch up. So tonight, as you close your eyes, I ask you to do something very simple. Do not pray for the win. Pray from the win. Do not speak to God as a beggar. Speak as one who has already received. Let every thought, every movement, every breath carry the fragrance of success already achieved. And as you persist in this way of living, inwardly rich, inwardly certain, you will find that the bills grow smaller, opportunities appear, and money flows in channels you could never have planned. For the outer world is but a mirror, and when the image within changes, the reflection cannot remain the same. Living in the end is the secret of all creation. It is not arrogance. It is obedience to the law that says, "As within, so without." Assume the state of the winner. Live in it, breathe it, sleep in it, and life itself will prove your assumption true. All day long, from the moment you open your eyes in the morning until the moment you drift into sleep at night, there runs within you a stream of silent conversation. You may not speak it aloud, but it is there, a steady current of words, thoughts, and feelings whispering beneath every action. This inner dialogue is the true prayer of your life. You may think prayer is something you do at fixed hours, on your knees or in sacred places. But I tell you, every word you speak inwardly is a prayer. Every inner conversation is a seed sown in the garden of your subconscious. If your mental chatter is filled with worry, complaint, and fear, then that is the prayer you are offering to life. And life, ever faithful to its source, answers accordingly. You may say to me, but Neville, I never pray for more debt or disappointment. No, you do not ask for them in words, but you do in feeling. You rehearse the same story of lack, of difficulty, of delay. You talk within yourself as though fortune were always far away, and the world, obedient as ever, reflects that unspoken command. Your inner words are creative acts. They are not echoes of life. They are the blueprint from which life takes shape. Listen quietly to yourself for a moment. What are you saying inwardly? What stories do you tell when you are alone? Do you say, it never works for me, others are lucky, not I? Do you say, it's too late, too hard, too uncertain? Every time you repeat such a line, you are writing another verse in the play of your life, and the play must unfold exactly as written. To master manifestation, you must master inner conversation. It is not enough to imagine your desire once and then fall back into old talk. You must learn to live in the tone of victory, to speak inwardly as the one who has already received. When I discovered this truth, it changed my entire world. I realized that the great work was not done in the outer actions, but in the silent theater of the mind. I began to notice how often I was arguing for my limitations, defending poverty, defending difficulty, rehearsing old wrongs. And I asked myself, why do I continue to tell this story when I long for a different ending? So I began to rewrite the play. I started to speak within, as though the best had already happened. When I walked down the street, I would silently say to myself, everything is working in my favor. I am blessed beyond measure. When I thought of a bill or an expense, I would say inwardly, it's all paid. I am free. When doubt crept in, I would answer it as though speaking to another person. No, that is not my story anymore. My life is one of abundance and ease. At first it felt strange, like learning a new language, but soon those words began to feel natural. And as they became natural within me, the outer world began to shift to match them. You see, the subconscious does not argue. It does not reason. It accepts as true whatever it hears with feeling. It cannot tell the difference between a statement said aloud and one whispered in silence. So your task is simple. Change the conversation. Instead of inner dialogues of defeat, create inner dialogues of triumph. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine that you have already won. You are sitting with a close friend, perhaps over dinner or in your living room. You are telling them the story of how it all unfolded. Hear yourself say, you won't believe it. The ticket I bought just on a whim turned out to be the one. I was so calm about it, I almost didn't check the numbers. And then, there it was. Everything changed overnight. Listen to your friends' reply. Hear their excitement. They might say, I told you it would happen. You always had that feeling about you. Now let that conversation play gently in your mind. Do not rush it. Feel the warmth of their joy, the ease in your own heart. You are not wishing anymore. You are remembering. This is the kind of inner talk that builds the bridge between imagination and fact. You can create countless such scenes. Perhaps you hear your banker congratulating you on your new account. Perhaps you hear a family member saying, it's such a relief to see you free from all those worries. Perhaps you simply hear yourself saying, thank you, it's done. These simple phrases, repeated with feeling, are prayers more powerful than any spoken aloud. Now, you may say, Neville, must I watch my thoughts all day long? No, not with tension. Simply become aware. Notice when your mind drifts into old patterns of lack or fear. Do not scold yourself. Gently replace the dialogue. You are training a new habit of inner speech, and like any habit, it grows through repetition. If, when you wake in the morning, your first thought is one of worry, immediately answer it. No, I live in abundance now. My life overflows with good. If as you walk through the day, you catch yourself saying, I can't afford this, replace it with, I always have more than enough. If you hear yourself thinking, nothing ever works out, reply calmly, everything is unfolding perfectly for me. These are not empty words. They are acts of creation. Each time you change the inner phrase, you turn the wheel of destiny. Over time, this practice becomes second nature. your inner voice will begin to echo your new state automatically. You will notice that old thoughts no longer find a home in you. And then, as surely as dawn follows night, your world will change. The people around you will speak differently. Opportunities will arise. Money will flow. It will seem as though the world has discovered a new affection for you. But in truth, it is your own inner talk, spoken faithfully in secret, returning to you as visible fact. You may think of it this way. Every conversation you have within yourself today is a letter you are posting to your future. The postman never fails to deliver. So write your letters wisely. Speak within as the winner you already are. Speak as one who is grateful, who is calm, who is at peace. Let your constant prayer be all is well. I have received, my world is perfect. And when that becomes your inner language, when it feels natural to think in those tones, your outer world will rise to meet the truth you have been proclaiming in silence. That, my friend, is the art of inner conversation, the unceasing prayer that never fails. Revision is one of the most powerful tools ever given to man. It is the art of changing the past, not the outer past that is written in newspapers or remembered by others, but the inner past, the only past that truly matters. Most people believe that what has already happened is fixed, that it cannot be touched or altered. They say, what's done is done. But that is only true on the surface. The past lives within you as memory, and memory is imagination, and imagination can be changed. When you remember an event, you are not looking at a photograph preserved in glass. You are reliving it, and as you relive it, you have the power to rewrite it. I discovered this truth early in my life and found it to be a most practical secret. If something unpleasant happened, a quarrel, a loss, a missed opportunity, I would take the event back into my imagination before sleep and replay it. But this time, as I wished it had been, I would see the faces smiling instead of frowning, hear the words of reconciliation instead of anger, feel the relief of success instead of the sting of failure. And I would continue to do this until the new version felt more real to me than the old. Soon, the outer world would rearrange itself to reflect that change of inner history. The people involved would behave differently. The situation itself would resolve in unexpected ways. You see, the subconscious does not distinguish between what has really happened and what is vividly imagined. It accepts whatever you impress upon it as fact, past, present, or future. Now let us apply this great law to the matter before us. If you have ever bought a lottery ticket and lost, you may carry within you an invisible history of failure. You may say to yourself, I always lose. You may feel a little sting each time you remember checking those numbers and seeing no match. Without realizing it, you have built a monument to disappointment in your own mind, and every time you think of the lottery, you bow before it. But that history can be erased. Tonight I want you to practice revision. Close your eyes and bring to mind a specific instance, perhaps the last ticket you bought. See yourself as you were then, standing at the counter, handing over the coins, holding the small slip of paper in your hand. Now, instead of recalling the moment you saw the numbers fail to match, change the scene. Imagine that you are looking again at that ticket, but this time the numbers align perfectly. You feel a jolt of recognition. You check them twice, 3 times. There is no mistake. It is the winning ticket. Hear yourself gasp, perhaps laugh out loud. Feel your heart pounding with joy. Hear the sound of your own voice saying, I knew it. I knew it all along. Do not concern yourself with how this could be possible. The how belongs to the outer world. The assumption belongs to you. Continue to play this scene until it feels natural. If doubt intrudes, if memory insists, but that is not what really happened, you gently answer, it is what is happening now, in imagination, and imagination creates reality. Persist in this new version until it feels like truth. And here is the mystery. When you revise the past, you free yourself from its emotional charge. The old feeling of failure dissolves, and in its place grows the calm confidence of one who always wins. This new inner record becomes the foundation of future experience. You will no longer expect to lose, you will expect to win, and expectation, held firmly, draws its own fulfillment. You can go further still. Combine revision with assumption. After rewriting the past event, remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. Say within yourself, I have always been lucky. Fortune has always favored me. Every ticket I've ever bought has brought me closer to success. Repeat these words until they take root. Let them become your new history. You will find that the subconscious begins to accept this new timeline as fact. It will reorganize your emotions, your expectations, and even the world around you to match it. Perhaps you will be drawn to buy a ticket on an unusual day. Perhaps a friend will hand you one as a gift. Perhaps the win will come in some entirely different form. A gift of money, an opportunity, a discovery. Do not concern yourself with the channel. Life will choose the path of least resistance. What matters is that you have changed the past within yourself, and therefore you have changed the seed from which your future grows. I remember once revising an entire week of disappointment. I had missed several engagements, lost a sum of money, and fallen ill. That night, I lay in bed and rewrote the week as though everything had gone perfectly. I saw myself healthy, joyful, successful in every appointment. When I awoke the next morning, the effects were astonishing. Those who had quarreled with me wrote letters of kindness. The lost money was returned through an error discovered. My illness vanished. The past is not dead. It is fluid. The moment you revise it, the ripple travels forward into the present and beyond. If you carry a lifetime of what you call bad luck, it is only because you have never questioned the story you keep telling. You have said, I was born unlucky. Nothing ever works out. But tonight, you may write a new story. You may say, I have always been fortunate. I have always been guided to success. My life has been a steady unfolding of abundance. Say it not as wishful thinking, but as a declaration of identity. Say it as one who has looked back and seen the evidence of divine order in every event. If you persist, this new story will replace the old, and you will begin to live from it without effort. The world will echo it back to you through people, circumstances, and opportunities that confirm it again and again. So take the past into your hands tonight. Mold it like soft clay. Shape it into something that pleases you. Turn every loss into a lesson of victory, every failure into a doorway to success. And when you are done, rest in the feeling that your life has always been a story of triumph. For in truth, it always was. You are not rewriting the past. You are remembering it correctly, for imagination is the only reality, and in imagination you have never been defeated. From this revised memory, live forward as the one who has always been blessed, always been lucky, always been the winner, and the world, ever faithful to the image within, will prove your revision true. There is a moment each night when the body begins to surrender, when the day grows quiet and your thoughts grow soft. It is that delicate bridge between wakefulness and sleep, the state I have called the state akin to sleep. It is here, in this sacred interval, that creation happens most easily. In that drowsy state, the conscious and subconscious minds meet. Your reasoning fades, your senses grow dim, and the gate to your deeper mind opens wide. Whatever image or feeling you carry into this doorway is impressed upon the subconscious and must in time appear in the outer world as fact. Most people, without knowing, use this moment against themselves. They drift off worrying about bills, replaying the day's disappointments, or anticipating tomorrow's problems. In doing so, they plant the same seeds of lack and fear night after night, and then they wonder why their lives never change. But you, if you are wise, will use this state consciously. Before you fall asleep, quiet your mind. Let the cares of the day drop away like a heavy cloak. You are not the man or woman of the day anymore. You are the creator, preparing the mold into which your tomorrow will flow. Lie comfortably with your body at rest and your attention inward. Do not strain, do not force. Simply allow yourself to hover in that pleasant feeling just before sleep. Now bring to mind a short, vivid scene that implies your wish fulfilled. It must be something simple, something you can easily repeat without effort. Do not make it complicated. The subconscious responds not to length or logic, but to feeling. If your desire is to win the lottery, imagine that you already have. See the scene that would naturally follow your victory. Perhaps you are at home, sitting in your favorite chair. You hold the ticket in your hand. The numbers are already matched. Feel the texture of the paper beneath your fingers. See the familiar handwriting, the printed digits perfectly aligned with your own. You breathe deeply, feeling the wave of relief and joy wash over you. You might hear yourself whisper, "It happened. I've done it." Hear the tone of your own voice, steady, calm, almost in disbelief, but filled with wonder. Then imagine you pick up the telephone to tell someone dear to you. You hear their laughter, their surprise. You say, "Yes, it's real. It's the winning ticket. Everything has changed." Let the sound of that conversation play softly in your mind. Feel the emotion, not excitement that strains the nerves, but quiet satisfaction. The deep peace of knowing the struggle is over. That is the feeling you must carry into sleep. Do not concern yourself with the details of how or when. Do not think of tomorrow's work, or which shop sells the ticket, or how many numbers must match. Your only task is to feel the reality of the wish fulfilled, until it becomes the last impression before sleep takes you. I have used this method countless times, not only for myself but for others. When my students would come to me, anxious and doubting, I would tell them, "Go to sleep as though you already are the one you wish to be." And they would return days or weeks later, astonished at the changes that had unfolded without effort. For the subconscious is the faithful servant. It never rests. It works while you sleep, arranging events, moving people, opening paths you could never plan in waking life. So tonight, when you lie down, do not go to bed as the man or woman who hopes to win. Go to bed as the winner. Lie there breathing softly, and let that simple scene repeat itself again and again. You do not need to force it or make it vivid through willpower. You need only feel it as true, just for a few moments, until it feels natural, until you can almost smile to yourself and say, of course, it happened. If you find your mind wandering, gently bring it back. Return to the feeling of holding that ticket, of knowing it's done. If your body stirs, if the day's worries return, do not fight them. Simply rest again in the mood of accomplishment. The key is this: as you drift into sleep, you must feel that the work is finished. You have already won. The world may not yet show it, but creation is complete in the unseen. When you wake in the morning, you will carry that invisible victory with you. You may notice that you feel lighter, calmer, even expectant. That is the sign that your subconscious has accepted the impression. From that point on, the outer world begins its silent rearrangement. The bridge of incidents will start to form. Small coincidences, unexpected opportunities, subtle nudges, all leading you to the fulfillment of your inner act. You need not watch the process. Your only duty is to repeat the act each night until it feels effortless, until it becomes a habit of being. Remember, the state akin to sleep is not a time to plead or to beg. It is a time to assume. It is not a moment of asking for a thing, but of becoming the one who already has it. So tonight, as the darkness deepens and your body grows heavy, let every breath carry the assurance: it is done. I have won. I am wealthy, free, fulfilled. Fall asleep not as the seeker, but as the possessor. And the power that never sleeps, your own subconscious mind, your own I am, will bring forth in daylight what you accepted in the silence of night. Do this faithfully, and you will find that the very world bends to your assumption, and your victory will appear as naturally as the morning follows the night. One of the greatest obstacles to manifestation is need, that desperate, grasping feeling that says, "I must have it, I must see it now." It is the cry of one who believes the power lies outside himself, and that belief alone keeps the desired thing at a distance. I have said many times, you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you feel needy, you are proclaiming that you do not yet possess. If you feel desperate, you are affirming separation between yourself and your desire. And since consciousness is the only reality, that separation will be faithfully reflected in your world. To manifest anything, wealth, health, love, even a lottery win, you must approach it from a state of quiet faith, not from tension. Faith is not a strained hope or a feverish wish. Faith is relaxed certainty. It is the calm knowing that what you have assumed in imagination must become fact. When a man plants a seed in the earth, he does not go back every hour to see if it has sprouted. He knows that the soil is faithful. He knows that in its own time and way, the invisible process will bring forth visible fruit. That is faith, resting in the unseen activity of your own assumption. I once knew a woman who came to me, desperate to manifest money. She said, "Neville, I have tried everything. I imagine, I affirm, I pray, but nothing happens." I asked her, "Do you truly believe it is yours?" She said, "I hope so." I smiled and said, "That is the very problem. Hope looks forward, faith looks now. You see, hope says, one day it will come. Faith says it is already mine. Hope reaches, faith rests. When you need something too much, you worship it. You make it your God, and in doing so you confess that you are powerless without it. But when you know that all creation begins and ends within your own consciousness, you no longer chase after symbols, you no longer cling to the outer form, because you understand that the outer is only a reflection of your inner state. So if you wish to manifest a lottery win, you must release the need for it. Yes, you may still buy the ticket, but do it from a place of knowing, not of panic. Do it as one who is guided, as one who already possesses abundance and simply follows the natural impulse to act. If you buy the ticket thinking, "This must be the one, it has to happen now, or I'll never escape this situation," then the very energy behind the act contradicts your assumption. You are telling the subconscious, "I do not have it, I am desperate," and the subconscious, ever obedient, must mirror that feeling in your life. But if you buy the ticket with the calm awareness that wealth already belongs to you, the act becomes a simple expression of faith. It is no longer an attempt to get something, it is the natural movement of one who already is. You may think this a subtle distinction, but it is everything. Faith and need cannot dwell together. One must die for the other to live. True faith feels light. It feels peaceful. There is no tension in it, no waiting, no bargaining. It does not ask when or how. It simply rests in the assurance that the invisible act is complete. You will know you have reached this state when you no longer feel compelled to check, to measure, to seek signs. You will move through your days with an inner quiet, even joy, knowing that the unseen is working on your behalf. I have seen men in desperate straits find peace, and within weeks, circumstances changed so naturally that they could scarcely believe it. They did not force life, they yielded to it. They let go of striving and began to trust. There is an ancient rhythm to creation. When you rest in faith, you align with that rhythm. When you struggle and strain, you move against it. Think of the ocean. You cannot push a wave. You can only move with it. Likewise, manifestation unfolds through ease, not effort. If you find yourself grasping, worrying, or pleading, stop for a moment. Close your eyes and breathe. Say quietly within yourself, "It is done. I have it now." Feel the tension drain from your body. Feel the peace that comes when you no longer need to prove or force. You may notice that this feeling, this deep calm, is the same sensation that accompanies true wealth, true freedom. That is no coincidence. You are tasting the state itself. Each time you return to that peace, you strengthen the assumption. Each time you act from knowing, you water the seed. So tomorrow, if you feel inspired to buy a ticket, do so with a smile. Not as a beggar buying hope, but as a creator simply allowing life to deliver its own reflection. Let the act be casual, joyful, even playful. You are not testing the law. You are living it. The result, the numbers, the money, the how, does not concern you. Your work is inward. The rest will unfold of its own accord. Remember always, the one who truly believes does not chase, does not strain, does not fear. He knows that his assumption is already reality, that the unseen has already accepted it as fact. Faith is not loud, it whispers. It is not tense, it rests, it is not impatient. It knows. When you feel that quiet confidence within, that unhurried certainty, you have entered the state where all things are possible. And then, when you least expect it, the outer world will present the evidence. the winning ticket, the unexpected gain, the perfect sequence of events. You will smile then, not in surprise, but in recognition. For you will know that what appears as luck was nothing more than the quiet faith you held in silence, the calm assurance that your inner world rules all. Once you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your work is done. The seed is planted. The creation is complete in the unseen. What follows is not your concern. Life itself now takes up the task and arranges the path, what I call the bridge of incidents. The bridge of incidents is the natural sequence of events that carries you from your present state to the fulfillment of your assumption. It is not something you plan or manipulate. It unfolds in ways so subtle, so ordinary, that you might overlook it altogether if you are not alert. You see, when you assume a new state, for instance, the state of already being a lottery winner, the entire universe begins to shift around that assumption. People move into your path. Circumstances rearrange themselves, opportunities appear, and even delays or detours that seem inconvenient at first are revealed, in hindsight, to have been essential steps along the bridge. Your only duty is to remain faithful to the end you have imagined, and to let life arrange the how. Many people make the mistake of trying to control the means. They say, perhaps I must buy the ticket at this shop, or maybe it must happen in this week's draw, or I will meditate on the exact numbers. But the moment you begin to micromanage the details, you step out of the state of the wish fulfilled and back into the state of uncertainty. You return to the very consciousness that says, it hasn't happened yet. The bridge is not yours to design. It is the unseen intelligence within you, the same power that created the stars and keeps your heart beating, that designs the perfect route from assumption to manifestation. Sometimes the bridge appears as inspiration, a quiet nudge to act. You may suddenly feel inclined to visit a certain shop, or to buy a ticket on a day you normally would not. You may overhear a conversation, meet a stranger, or stumble upon something that seems coincidental. But if you are living from the end, these are not coincidences. They are signposts on the bridge. Follow them naturally, without strain. Do not ask, is this it? Is this the step that leads to the win? That kind of questioning breaks the flow. Instead, trust that every movement is ordered, that the same intelligence which brought the idea into your imagination will bring the event into your world. I remember once, during a time of financial difficulty, I assumed the state of abundance. I did not ask how it would come. I simply lived as though it were already done. A week later, a friend I had not seen in years appeared quite by chance, offering me an opportunity that solved every problem in a way I could never have foreseen. That was my bridge of incidents. The bridge does not always look miraculous. Often it looks entirely ordinary. But seen from the higher view, it is perfect. There may even be moments that seem like setbacks. Perhaps you lose a ticket, or the draw passes without result, or someone else wins. Do not despair. These are not obstacles, they are movements on the bridge. The law never fails. What you have assumed must become fact. If the first bridge closes, another will open, leading you more directly to your end. Your task is to keep your inner gaze fixed on the result, not on the route. If you are constantly checking the outer world for signs, you are trying to walk two bridges at once, one of faith and one of doubt, and you will find yourself exhausted. Trust instead. Trust the unseen process that is already at work. When the impulse arises to act, buy a ticket, visit a place, speak to someone, act lightly, naturally. Do not question it. And if no impulse arises, do nothing. Rest in the assurance that the bridge is forming beneath your feet, even when you cannot see it. You may think, but Neville, if I do nothing, will nothing happen? I tell you, doing nothing outwardly does not mean nothing is happening inwardly. The subconscious is always active. It is arranging everything necessary for the fulfillment of your assumption. What you call waiting is not inactivity, it is gestation. The bridge is as inevitable as sunrise. Once the seed of assumption is planted, the bridge must appear, because the universe itself must rearrange to reflect your new state. In this way, your imagination is not fighting the world, it is commanding it. Every so-called coincidence, every meeting, every delay, Every discovery is an obedient step toward the end you have already claimed within. When you understand this, life becomes effortless. You stop grasping. You stop worrying. You no longer chase outcomes, for you know that everything is moving in perfect order. And when the moment of manifestation arrives, when you hold the ticket in your hand, when the numbers match, when the prize is yours, you will look back and see how perfectly the path was woven. You will realize that what once seemed like chance was, in truth, divine precision. So do not attempt to force the bridge. Walk it in faith, not fear. Keep your attention fixed upon the end, and the means will unfold of themselves. The bridge of incidents is the proof of the law in motion. It is the world obeying the command of your assumption. Therefore, let it. Let life do its work, for it knows far better than you how to make your inner vision a living fact. When you surrender the how, you make space for the miracle. And the miracle, my friend, will always arrive right on time. Everything in your world flows from the concept you hold of yourself. It is the root of every circumstance, every event, every person who crosses your path. If you wish to change your life, you must first change the image you carry of you. The outer world, I have said again and again, is nothing more than yourself pushed out. It mirrors the state of your own consciousness, faithfully and without judgment. If you see yourself as unlucky, life will show you evidence of bad luck. If you believe yourself poor, circumstances will conspire to prove it. But if you dare to assume that you are fortunate, chosen, and prosperous, life will equally prove that to be true. Your self-concept is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests. To manifest the winning of the lottery or any great fortune, you must first become the kind of person for whom winning is natural. You see, the poor man who wins a fortune but continues to think of himself as poor will soon lose it all. The rich man who loses everything but still feels himself wealthy will regain it again and again. Why? Because each lives according to the truth of his own concept of self. You cannot consistently experience what you are not willing to be. If you see yourself as a poor man trying to become rich, you are affirming poverty, for trying implies not yet having. But when you see yourself as a rich man to whom wealth is now revealed, you affirm abundance, for revelation implies something that already exists, simply uncovered. There is a vast difference between striving to acquire and calmly revealing what is already yours. The first keeps you in effort, the second keeps you in faith. So I ask you now, who are you in imagination? When you close your eyes, do you see yourself as the one who wins or the one who hopes to win? Do you feel chosen or do you feel overlooked? The answer to those questions determines everything. I once said that the greatest mistake man makes is to identify himself with his limitations. He says, I am poor, I am unlucky, I am ordinary. But these statements are not descriptions, they are creations. Every I am you utter, whether aloud or in silence, is the voice of God shaping reality. Therefore, speak of yourself wisely. Say, I am fortunate, I am divinely guided. Everything I touch prospers. Say it until it feels natural, until the words are no longer a wish, but a recognition. At first, you may feel resistance. Your old self, the one who struggled, who doubted, who waited, will protest. It will whisper, but look at your bank account. Look at your circumstances. Do not argue. Simply answer, that was the old me. I have remembered who I am. And then, live as that new self. When you walk, walk as one who has already arrived. When you speak, let your words carry the calm assurance of one who has never been denied. When you think of money, think as its master, not its servant. The shift is not about arrogance or pretense. It is about alignment, aligning your sense of self with the truth that abundance is your natural state. For when you change the concept of self, the world must rearrange itself to reflect that change. It cannot do otherwise. I recall a man who came to me once saying, Neville, I have done all the exercises. I imagine wealth every night, yet nothing changes. I asked him, tell me, when you imagine, who is the one doing the imagining? Is it the man who still feels poor, or the man who already is rich? He paused and said, the poor man. I smiled and said, then that is why nothing happens. The poor man can imagine riches forever, but until he becomes the rich man in consciousness, the picture remains only a dream. That night, he began anew. He stopped imagining as the beggar and began imagining as the benefactor. He began to see himself as someone to whom prosperity naturally flowed, not by luck, but by law. Within months, his entire life changed. He received business opportunities, unexpected income, and a deep peace he had never known before. It was not the outer actions that brought him wealth. It was the new self that attracted the outer reflection. When you adopt a self-concept of prosperity, the world around you becomes fertile soil for wealth. Ideas, people, and chances seem to appear effortlessly, for you are no longer reaching out in lack. You are drawing in from fullness. This change of identity goes far beyond the lottery. It transforms every aspect of life. For once you know yourself as wealthy in consciousness, you cannot help but attract wealth in experience, and not just in money, but in relationships, opportunities, and joy. You begin to expect good things, and so they come. You stop fearing loss, and so nothing can be taken from you. You live in a state of quiet confidence, knowing that what you are inwardly will always find its way outwardly. To become the person for whom winning is natural, you must no longer think in terms of luck. You must think in terms of law. Luck is for those who believe in chance. Law is for those who know the power of consciousness. So tonight, before you sleep, do not say, "I will win." Say, "I am one who wins." Do not say, "I am trying to attract wealth." Say, "I am wealth revealed." Let this become the tone of your life. Let every inner word and feeling echo this truth. I am prosperous, I am chosen, I am free. And when that self-concept becomes natural, when it feels easier to believe in abundance than in lack, then even if every lottery were to vanish from the earth, you would still find yourself surrounded by wealth. For it is not the ticket that makes you rich. It is the consciousness behind the ticket. It is the inner acceptance of prosperity as your birthright that makes wealth inevitable. When you become that man, that woman, life must show you proof of what you already are. The riches may come through a lottery, through a business, through a gift, or through means you could never imagine, but come they will, because you have claimed the one thing that governs all your identity. So claim it now. Say to yourself, gently, I am the one who wins. I am the one who always has enough. I am the one through whom abundance flows. And as you continue to live from this awareness, the world, obedient as always, will rise to meet the new you. Then, whether you hold a ticket in your hand or not, you will know that you have already won the greatest prize of all, the mastery of consciousness itself.